So some of you may have been aware of or heard before this idea, this concept that he who teaches learns twice. You know, I learn every time I go through these books, and especially under the pressure of being on air, trying to keep some kind of a coherent flow going. And when I come back myself and I do and listen to these broadcasts in the archives, I'm always listening for the things that I said beyond what I was reading. Because these are the things that well up out of me from all of my other research. You know, in the process of going through this material, the things that come to mind as I read sometimes are better even than what I've been reading. And so I hope that some of this is getting there, you know, to you too. And going over and listening to a couple of times just to understand this idea. There are lots of better teachers out there. You know, I could continue to name names and point you in different places. Some of these people have spent their entire life focused on law. I don't. I've read a lot of law. And go back to the Inns of the Temple, the Inns of Court, you know, back in England, you know. And the phrase that I read about, you know, when reading Sir Edward Coke or Grotius or anybody else, Blackstone, it's always the readings in law. And that's what you do. You're readings in law. You're reading law. And that's the way you learn law, is by reading law. And it's the way you learn a lot of things, is by reading it. You've got to fill your mind with it. That's how Anthony I like to say, you know, get the black and white in your eyes. It's important to do it. Because the more times you go through this information, the more you glean out of it. So let's continue. Again, it's possible, however, for the law to take one step further in the same direction the step it has taken, and has so attained to the conception of incorporation. This may be regarded from one point of view as merely a development of the concept of trusteeship. So born out of the trusteeship comes the corporation. For it is plain that so long as a trustee is not required to act, but has merely to serve as a depositary of the rights of beneficiaries, there is no necessity that he should be a natural person at all. John Salmon, this book, Salmon on Jurisprudence, from the beginning, the first edition, all the way through. This is like law school, folks. It's the books they use there. So we can learn a little bit from it. But again, this idea that the corporations need not be a natural person at all. He may be a mere legal concept. A mere legal concept. And as between the real and the fictitious trustee, there are, in large classes of cases, important advantages on the side of the latter. He is one person, and so renders possible a complete reduction of common to individual ownership, whereas the objections to a single trustee in the case of natural persons are serious and obvious. The fictitious trustee, moreover, though not incapable of dissolution, is yet exempt from the inevitable mortality that afflicts mankind. I'm just reviewing what we talked about yesterday. Every time we go through it, we hear something different. It's really important to understand the fictions that are going on here. We get up in the morning, we wake up in the morning, we come into the consciousness, we swing our feet out of the bed perhaps and stand on the floor, and you're waking up that flesh and blood man with your feet on the ground. And before you can get your first cigarette rolled and lit, you may have drifted already into this fictitious world of this state. You wake up in the state of Missouri, and then in all things commerce, you deal in this state of Missouri, a legal fiction. It doesn't have to be a natural person. And you go to court, and you want to bring your Title IV flag and your tricorn hat and the mourner's bench, and it don't apply there because you're in the wrong place. They can't see you, as Donna Barrett says. Continuing, it says, it is true, indeed, that a fictitious trustee is incapable of acting in the matter of his trust in his proper person. This difficulty, however, is easily avoided by means of agency. Agencies. This is the administrative law that works on us. Your little roadside visit with the revenue raiser for your municipality. He's working for an agency. And the agents may be several in number. There's so many now that none can count them all. So as to secure that safety which lies in a multitude of counselors. Oh, they don't handle it here. Well, you'll have to go see this person. Could I transfer your call? Maybe if you could put that in a letter, I could route it. Secure that safety which lies in a multitude of counselors. You know, they're not out to protect you. They're out to preserve their jobs, these collective bargaining government hooers that are standing between us and freedom, while the unity of the trusteeship itself remains unaffected, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to hell with the people. We've considered the general use and purpose of incorporation. Among its various purposes, there is one which has assumed very great importance in modern times, and which is not without theoretical interest. Incorporation is used to enable traders to trade with limited liability. As the law stands, he who ventures to trade in propria persona must put his whole fortune into the business. He must stake all that he has upon the success of his undertaking and must answer for all losses to the last farthing of his possessions. So we used to have an oath backed by a bond. We no longer have access to that, apparently. The risk is a serious one, even for him whose business is all his own. But it is far more serious for those who enter into partnership with others. In such a case, a man may be called upon to answer with his whole fortune for the acts or the defaults of those with whom he is disastrously associated. I'm putting it in more simple terms. We can all understand responsibility. That's pretty simple. That's pretty basic. You see an advertisement in the newspaper, they want to have a draftsman, so you show up. You call, you make an appointment, you find out what you need to bring, you bring along your drawings and things like that, and dress yourself all up, comb your hair, brush your teeth, maybe get a haircut, best shoes, polish the shoes, nice slacks, shirt, tie, and you go in and you interview, all right? That was the offer. And then they accept your offer. And they say, okay, when can you start? Well, I can start today or I can start tomorrow, your choice. Okay, start tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Now you've got offer and acceptance going on here. All right, now from that point forward, you've offered your honor. All right, they're going to honor your offer. And then you're going to be responsible for the job description that you hired on for. All right? We all expect the president to do presidently things. That was the job you ran for. That's what people voted him in for. But the one thing that we never hear from government is accountability. Oh, they might speak out of the corner of their mouth, but they never show it to us in real life. The one thing you're not getting out of the banking institutions today is accountability. Oh, we all know who was responsible for the fraud, why it was MERS. But who the hell is going to be held accountable for this? The accountability is a whole different program. Accountability doesn't have anything to do with a limited liability corporation. A man's word is his bond. You said you were going to do this thing. You didn't do it, and I want to know why. I want to know what you did. I want to know how much you charged me. I want to have a ledger. I want you to account for your actions. All right? And then I'm going to hold you to account. I know what I expected. I expected your best. I'm here to inspect to make sure I get what I expect. And if I don't get what I expect, I'm going to hold you to account. There's pluses on one side, there's minuses on the other, and you better have a positive balance sheet, because when we get down to the bottom, if I find you in error or in arrears, I'm going to hold you accountable. And if there's crimes that have been committed, if there's been loss of life, if there's been fraud, fraudulent conversion, fraudulent concealment, theft of property, victims lay in every place. And some of these people need to do some serious time in front of a judge and a jury, and if found guilty of crimes and treasons, to be held accountable for that. And we're not going to get to that point with the bullhorn on the sidewalk. But we might be able to get to that point if we go inside of this system and shake it out from the inside out. This country was taken over by infiltrators who embedded at every single level. Not only did they create a lot of the different layers, all of the agencies and stuff, but then they've infiltrated at it, and they hold, like Joseph, behind the Pharaoh, the Grand Viziers, they hold these positions of power. And like Joseph, they're going to destroy we the Egyptians. Well, that's all the time for today. I'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. And until the next time,